My name's Gary Burnett. I work for the Blackfoot Challenge. I've been in the Blackfoot about 6 years. I worked for the Blackfoot Challenge 5. I lived in Montana since about 1977. The changes that I've seen in restoration since I've been here have really been a growing awareness of the need to do restoration. We've stopped a lot of disturbance from coming across the landscape, in particular the need for fire on the landscape. And because of lack of fire, a lot of the forests are in a condition that needs some help, needs some restoration, or we're going to lose some of these heritage species, heritage habitats that we have right now. So really a growing awareness of the need to look at restoration and how that helps long-term stewardship. Forest restoration is not just about trees. It's about the forest. It's really about the landscape. We happen to live in a pretty heavily forested landscape, so when you think about restoration here, people think about restoring the forest, but we're really doing a lot of restoration, whether it's aquatic restoration, looking at invasive species, and maybe restoring even the economies here in terms of what this landscape can support. There's a core piece here that does focus around this vegetation in terms of trying to do good treatments relative to restoring those landscapes. But restoration really is the first stage in terms of trying to bring some of these forests back into condition. Maybe we worked them a little too hard and we need to do some things to help them get off the ground again, to regrow. But there's also stands that we haven't done much in those, or we've stopped disturbance from coming in those. And we really feel, a lot of us, that we really need to do some stewardship, some restoration, some treatments in those stands to be able to bring those back and retain those species, retain those habitats that were there and will hopefully be there in the future. Restoration in this valley has a lot of positive implications. There are social implications, economic and environmental implications. There's really a strong need to put all of those together. There's a lot of need to bring some consensus in terms of what restoration means to people. That's a complicated situation, it's a complicated equation, and it takes a lot of conversation, and really takes getting out on the ground and looking at what people really have a desire for in terms of in condition. But there's also an economic element that we really need to understand how these resources help us live as people. And restoration has a lot of opportunity to gain from that, so we can pull off economic benefits but do the right thing in the landscape. So from a valley perspective, whether you live here because you like to play here, you want to raise your families, or this is where you work, there's a lot of economic opportunities here, but there's really a lot of restoration in terms of the health of this ecosystem, and really the things that people, either they come here because they want to have access to that, or they already live here and they value these resources, and we want to maintain the access to these resources, whether it's goods or services that we get off this landscape. The Southwestern Crown Collaborative is helping to achieve restoration goals initially by bringing a sense of focus and partnership with the Forest Service in terms of looking at this natural resource we have out there on forest system lands. We brought a huge number of collaborative partners into the equation, and so the real opportunity here and what the Southwest Crown is doing, and we're blessed because we were picked to be one of the first 10 projects in the country to have this opportunity, and we have 10 years to get this thing done. We're getting a long ways on that in the first 3 years, but we've got a lot to go in terms of bringing all those values onto the table to make sure they're represented, they're included in the discussions. And so really we're at this sort of turning point, if you will, with this Southwestern Crown in terms of the opportunities. Early on, we were looking at a lot of opportunities that already were in existence and supporting those. Now it's a more complicated process of looking at all those different values and seeing how it can sustain this landscape into the future. It's complicated because a lot of things are changing. Economics are changing, the landscape is changing, climate is changing, and so looking at what we want to have in the future, now is the time to get those values on the table, to bring those partners in, to look at the opportunity we have in front of us and say, how can this group, this collaboration, continue to bring people in? We're not done in terms of getting inclusion. We really need other partners at the table that are looking at what we're doing, are questioning what we're doing. We really want to hear from them. The more we can have that dialogue with them, the more likely we'll be able to continue this in the future, and we'll be able to do good things for the American people. The concept of participation I was talking about is a bit of a tricky subject. It's genuine in terms of really wanting to understand what people's values are. There's a lot of different values out there. We're not going to be able to reach consensus unless we understand what those are. There's a concept out there that America's starting to become a country of extreme viewpoints. That's not really going to help us get things done. It's not going to help sustain our people, our economies, our structures, our forests. And so the more we can have representation, the more we can find this common ground and be able to move things forward. We really want to try to do the right thing. It's sort of incredibly hard to understand that all these people, these folks working in this collaboration, are not trying to do the wrong thing. We're really focused very hard on trying to do the right thing. And the more we can hear from other people that question whether what we're doing is right, the more we understand what the right thing is to do. So we really need that representation. That's really what the collaboration is about, is having a place for people to come together, look at the opportunities in the National Forest System, working with their partners and trying to figure out how to get the right thing done.